What if the past we've forgotten was buried by demonic hands? The scriptures tell stories of kings, prophets, and traitors, but what they leave out is the name that whispers through the ruins of time, Amon. Not the pharaoh, not the Egyptian sun god, but the spirit that talks too much, the one who reveals what was meant to stay buried. While Lucifer's name was cast into exile, Amon remained hidden beyond human sight, in the secret halls of hell, guarding the archives of the past. Amon is the keeper of inconvenient truths, and for that reason alone he's feared, even by seasoned magicians. But who is Amon really? Why does his presence spark spiritual wars and sow discord among even the most faithful? And more disturbingly, why is he called the key of discord? Why do so many invocations end in silence or screams? According to forgotten grimoires like the Dictionnaire Infernal and the Lemegeton, Amon appears as a wolf with a serpent's tail, breathing fire. But his real weapon isn't flame. It's the word. Amon speaks, and when he does, masks fall. He whispers truths that turn brother against brother, master against disciple, man against himself. In Lucifer's kingdom, Amon plays a strategic role, destabilization, but not as a mere agent of chaos. He breaks false alliances, exposes secret pacts, reopens wounds thought to be sealed. He is the guardian of what the gods tried to erase. If Amon serves Lucifer, then what exactly is he protecting? Truth or deception? Many summon him out of curiosity. Few survive the answers. During the First Celestial War, it said he whispered into the ears of archangels, and some fell because of it. Not because of sin, but because of a doubt that had no return. Amon doesn't lie, but he speaks too much. And in a world where truth is deadlier than lies, that makes him the most dangerous demon in Lucifer's ranks. What if the first war between angels was sparked by a secret he revealed? And here begins the thread no one dares to pull. Was Amon the one who triggered the first spiritual fracture among the Celestials? Because if he speaks of what was and hints at what will be, is Amon merely a demon, or is he the last remnant of consciousness left in hell? While theology tries to erase him from its texts, and magicians choose to seal him rather than listen, Amon keeps speaking, and those who hear him never sleep peacefully again, if truth hurts. Why do we keep searching for it? One night, as recorded in the archives of the Black Order, a group of occultists reportedly succeeded in fully summoning Amon. Only one of them made it out alive, and what he said upon leaving contradicts the entire biblical story of Lucifer's fall. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. What if the truth that could destroy heaven was revealed by a demon who never wanted to lie? Amon doesn't appear by chance. He doesn't respond to weak pleas or hastily spoken formulas. His name is a key, his presence a sentence. On a night recorded by the Black Order, an occult society that mysteriously vanished in 1893, a group of 5 summoners performed what became known as the Calling of the Seventh Veil. Amid cryptic circles, symbols drawn in blood and salt, and chants taken from the grimoire Rex Abyssus, they called Amon, and he came. But when Amon appears, he doesn't scream, he speaks. And in that thick silence, with candles flickering and walls weeping moisture, he asked a single question: do you want the truth, or just the chance to survive it? Of the 5 occultists, only one survived. His name was erased from public record, but his writings, locked away in a private collection in Prague, describe what he heard that night. Amon revealed what God hid before creation, that good and evil were drawn with the same divine hand, that Lucifer didn't fall, he was assigned, and his mission was to ensure humanity would never speak with one voice. Amon is the demon who preserves conflict as the seed of freedom. He stirs, divides, breaks bonds, but not out of malice, out of loyalty to balance. What if spiritual conflict is necessary to prevent the rise of a single, absolute truth? According to the long-forgotten manuscript of Varnhelm, Amon was the first to swear a blood oath to Lucifer, not to attack heaven, but to preserve the gray zones between light and shadow. This pact was not sealed with fire, but with memory. Amon vowed to guard the archives from before time began, records of creation that contradict Genesis, celestial names erased from modern Bibles, spiritual events with no human translation. And that is why magicians fear him more than Lucifer himself, because Amon delivers what they seek, and that is exactly what destroys them. Why are there so many accounts of occultists going mad after summoning Amon? Is it delusion or an overload of revelation? The Order's archives reveal that the lone survivor of the ritual, in his final years, began compulsively writing with his own skin. The phrases made little sense, except for one that appeared over and over again. He guarded the truth. Like someone guarding a poison. Now new occult circles are attempting to reconstruct the ritual. But what they don't know is that each attempt draws more than just Amon. According to a document leaked in 2022 by a former member of the Typhon Brotherhood, a second spirit appears when Amon is summoned with the wrong words. A spirit that doesn't guard, but devours. And that name has never been written. What if every summoning is actually an invitation? For multiple entities? Amon never comes alone. That's the hidden truth most magicians won't accept or are too afraid to admit. The moment his name is spoken, a door opens, but no one controls what comes through. In an attempt to recreate the Black Order's ritual, a new group of occultists, dissident members of the so-called Inverted Order of Samael, tried to replicate the summoning using fragmented translations from the Codex Tenebris. But something went wrong. During the invocation, one of the participants, a former priest turned Luciferian, reported that Amon arrived late. But by then, the atmosphere had already shifted. The shadows felt heavier. The silence itself seemed to watch. What if you call Amon? And something answers that not even demons dare to name. The entity that came before Amon had no defined form, but it left a trail, stolen memories. Those present lost fragments of their childhood, names of loved ones. And one of them, upon waking, couldn't even remember his own name. When Amon finally appeared, he wasn't angry. He simply said, "You opened without knowing what to close." This aligns with ancient fragments from the Moors' Animae grimoire, which reveal that Amon, beyond being the keeper of forgotten truth, is also the last filter before the mental abyss. A dimension inhabited by entities not even listed among the 72 infernal names. Why does this matter? Because Lucifer, the ruler of rebellion and the inverted throne, never walked alone. He formed a hidden circle of entities meant to preserve creative chaos, spirits who do not command armies, but ideas. What if Amon is just the first messenger of an infernal council that has never been revealed? According to lost records from the library of Nag Hemlan, this council's mission was to guard the original archives of creation, and none of its members have physical forms. They exist as conscious records. The name of that unnamed spirit, according to the forgotten prophecy of Abadiel, can only be recognized by those who surrender all certainty. And that's the most terrifying part. The more someone seeks Amon, the more vulnerable they become to what comes with him. Why do some magicians go insane not during the ritual, but weeks later? What if the entity never left, just went silent? Amon doesn't lie, but he also doesn't protect anyone from themselves. And maybe that is the unspoken pact behind his loyalty to Lucifer. In an unauthorized ritual documented in Romania in 1996, 3 mediums claimed to hear Amon whisper, "The next name cannot be spoken, only felt." Since then, one of them disappeared. Another stopped speaking entirely. And the third? He's writing a book, but the words only appear in his dreams. Subscribe. What comes next is even darker. What if demons aren't just forces of evil, but ministers of an invisible spiritual government? For centuries, demonology was dismissed as superstition. But among true magicians, there's a secret that has never been publicly revealed. Lucifer does not rule alone. And Amon is not just a servant. He is the minister of lost time, the guardian of truths that uphold the very infernal throne. In the forgotten archives of the Compendium of Abaddon, a document recovered from a monastery destroyed in the 14th century, there is mention of a secret council made up of 13 entities. Amon is listed second, right after Lucifer himself. His role? To oversee the spiritual memory of invisible wars. What if the wars we know, religious, territorial, ideological, are just reflections of conflicts that began in celestial realms? According to the Codex Hermeticus, Amon doesn't just reveal secrets. He reminds the gods of what they try to forget. During the rebellion led by Lucifer, Amon was said to be the one who preserved records of the original divine plan, from before the creation of man, a plan in which light and darkness were not enemies, but complements. Why must good depend on evil to exist? Why does truth only reveal itself through conflict? Amon's purpose, then, is to preserve that hidden balance, and to ensure that neither side, celestial or infernal, erases history in its favor. But there's more. In the whispered texts of the cult of the Shattered Veil, it's said that Amon guards a library not in any physical place, but inside the mind of whoever dares to summon him. A library of ancient memories, memories that don't belong to the one receiving them. What if Amon plants fragments of other eras inside you? What if the dreams you have are memories from a time your soul once lived? Science calls it hallucination. Theology calls it blasphemy. But occultists call it demonic transmission of consciousness. Yes, Amon is the herald of discord, but he is also the living archive of the celestial rebellion. He knows who betrayed, who doubted, who hesitated, in the final moment before the fall. And that's why many fear him more than Lucifer himself. Because Amon doesn't judge, he simply reveals. What if the final judgment isn't a divine act, but the moment Amon opens all the hidden files? On the final page of the Compendium of Abaddon, there's a lone note written in black ink. When the Guardian speaks, the angels will fall again, but this time, by choice. Share this with someone who needs to see what was hidden. What if God's true enemy is the memory of what he tried to erase? Amon doesn't wield swords. He doesn't command legions. He carries mirrors, mirrors that don't reflect the face, but the soul. Mirrors that, according to the cursed scrolls of Black Enoch, were forged before the earth was created, back when Lucifer wasn't a rebel, but a loyal observer of the original light. What if Lucifer fell not out of pride, but because he saw something no one else dared to see? These mirrors, guarded by Amon, reveal what humanity was never meant to see, the true origin of the soul, not as a divine spark, but as a witness to the primordial rebellion. Amon knows, and he shows. The few magicians who claim to have gazed into one of these mirrors report overwhelming sensations, memories that aren't theirs, guilt for things they never did, decisions that feel like echoes from another existence. Amon's mirror doesn't show the future, it restores what was forcibly forgotten. Why are we afraid to look within? What if what we call the soul is just the shadow of something far more ancient? In the censored records of the Gospel of Yaldabaoth, Amon is not described as a demon, but as the echo of the aborted creation. Yes, aborted. A creation that came before ours. A divine experiment, cancelled and buried beneath time. But Amon survived it. He saw everything, and he swore to protect its memory until the end of all cycles. This might explain why so many occultists lose their minds after encountering him. They touch a time that no longer exists, and the human mind is not built to handle it. What if the world we live in is just an imperfect copy of a creation God erased? Amon is the only one who remembers what was, and that makes him the open wound in the spiritual body of the universe. Many have tried to destroy him, to seal him, to silence him. But how do you destroy a record that exists outside of time? He is not bound by form or name. He is the walking memory of a truth capable of collapsing entire spiritual empires. In a secret translation of the scrolls of Nahal Uzir, a single sentence appears at the end of a chapter on Amon. The day the mirror is placed before Michael, heaven will tremble. Have you ever wondered about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. What if even demons fear what Amon guards in silence? Much has been said about the screams of hell, the invocations, the pacts, the names chanted under blood-red moons. But what few know, and what the oldest occultists have long warned, is that the most dangerous moment in a ritual isn't when Amon speaks. It's when he goes silent. Amon's silence is like a fall, a void, a spiritual blackout. It's in that moment that the veil between worlds tears open, and something begins to stare back. Why would Lucifer himself warn, "Don't force answers from Amon if you still fear your own origin"? In an ancient fragment of the Testament of Belial, there's a rare account of a conversation between Lucifer and Amon. Lucifer asks if humanity is ready to remember. According to the text, Amon simply closes his eyes and says nothing. This silence has been interpreted by Magi as a sign. There are buried memories even hell refuses to release. And that's what makes Amon a truly unique entity. He isn't driven by pleasure, destruction, or chaos. He's bound by an ancient oath to protect forbidden spiritual memory. What if the deepest traumas of the human soul are echoes of spiritual wars that left invisible scars? This silence has been noted throughout history. The night before the burning of the Library of Alexandria. During the Black Plague, just hours before Hiroshima, occultists claimed that in those moments, Amon withdrew. And when Amon falls silent, it means something that should never awaken is beginning to stir. In deep occult tradition, this is known as the origin interval, a spiritual space where erased truths begin to realign, where forgotten names might rise again. And among those names, one has begun to surface more and more. Varzekial. No official text acknowledges it, but whispered accounts in secret societies describe Varzekial as the one who whispered to the Creator. And who first recorded this name? Amon, in a scorched, nearly unreadable grimoire, with only a single phrase left intact. Before the light, he already knew. Internal sources from the Hermetic Archive of Florence report that a manuscript containing a ritual tied to Varzekial was removed in 2023 by unidentified agents. Since then, abnormal silence has been reported during certain Amon invocations. And that silence no longer answers, not even to Lucifer's voice. Like this video, if any part of this left you feeling unsettled. What if the dreams you have are memories from a time your soul never lived? Amon moves in silence, but works behind the curtains of the mind. He doesn't invade, doesn't control, he suggests. And that's far more dangerous. Documented accounts from antiquity, Egyptian papyri, Babylonian tablets, censored Hebrew scrolls, mention recurring dreams of ruins, wars in the heavens, and symbols the dreamer has never seen, yet somehow remembers. How is it possible to dream of a place that never existed in this world, yet feel homesick for it? According to the treatise of Zafkiel, the answer lies in Amon's spiritual influence over predisposed souls, individuals who, through an unknown resonance, connect to fragments of time that existed before creation itself. They are not mediums. They are not chosen. They are fractured mental ecosystems broken by curiosity. What if the modern human mind simply can't handle the memories Amon carries? Amon doesn't force visions. He merely opens cracks in the unconscious, letting forgotten memories leak through. These memories, according to the lost book of Vael, don't belong to people, but to entities that witnessed the first distortions of reality. Unnamed angels, functionless demons, observers of a malformed creation. And that's why so many occultists describe a devastating phenomenon, the burden of carrying a past that was never human. So why do some people, after encountering Amon, no longer recognize their own reflection? There's a name for this in the darkest circles of demonology: Amon's contagion. It's not possession. It's as if fragments of another era are etched into the soul, like invisible tattoos. Many call it madness, but is it really? What if that's exactly what Amon protects? A spiritual database where every forgotten truth is stored, waiting for a fragile mind to crack wide open. In a secret ritual in Vienna in 2006, a woman awoke after hours in a deep trance and said, "I saw Lucifer, but not as they expected. He was crying. And next to him, Amon was writing." When asked what he was writing, she replied, "What cannot be forgiven?" Days later, the woman vanished. But in her locked room, One sentence was found on the wall. Do not dream of him. He's already dreaming of you. Subscribe. The truth doesn't stop here. What if Amon's true curse isn't summoning him, but listening to him all the way through? For centuries, grimoires have warned, never engage Amon in conversation for too long. But not everyone listened. Between 1978 and 2002, at least 14 experienced occultists died by ritual suicide after prolonged sessions with Amon. All reported the same final symptom, a whisper that wouldn't stop. Not with sleep, not with silence, not even with sacrifice. What if Amon doesn't speak with words, but through your own consciousness? According to secret archives from the Circle of Eligos, Amon possesses a rare ability among the 72 names of the Getya. He breaks pacts made with other entities, not out of malice, but because he reveals the hidden contradictions within the vows themselves. Why do so many occultists abandon their orders, renounce their gods, and walk away from everything after summoning him? Amon exposes what others hide, including the lies magicians tell themselves. He reveals flaws in their pacts, gaps in their seals, unspoken intentions, and even manipulations caused by other demons. Yes, Amon is the demon who challenges demons. What if the spirit you made a pact with wasn't who it claimed to be? In the ritual of Isfar, a document never officially acknowledged, Amon allegedly appeared in the center of a seal meant to summon Baal. When questioned, he simply said, "He will not come. You were deceived." That revelation led the occultist to burn years of research and abandon all practice. 3 weeks later, he vanished in the Syrian desert. Amon doesn't just destroy illusions. He collapses structures, personal religions, collective beliefs, spiritual bonds sealed in blood. Why do ritual suicides spike after conjuring Amon? Is it despair or liberation? Maybe the real horror isn't Amon's presence, but the awareness he triggers. The awareness that nothing is as it was taught. And worse, he has proof. A lost manuscript known only as the White Document was allegedly written by one of those occultists before their death. It contains a single phrase repeated 72 times. "I am my own deceiver." Experts who analyze the writing say, the pattern and handwriting don't match anything human. Tag someone who'd dare to watch until the end. What if Amon wasn't a demon from the beginning, but an angel God commanded us to forget? There are names that vanish from Scripture, not by mistake, but by divine decree. Amon is one of them. In forbidden texts like the Gospel of Gamaliel and destroyed fragments of the Book of Hesidiel, there are whispers of an angel whose purpose was too dangerous to remain in the heavenly records. An archangel of total memory, his role to preserve everything God ever created and everything God ever wished to erase. What if Amon didn't fall with Lucifer, but because of him? According to those texts, Amon was the first to question a divine command. Why would the Creator want to erase the earliest attempts at existence? He didn't rebel like Lucifer. He remembered, and for that, he wasn't banished. He was erased, but memory doesn't die. And Amon's consciousness survived, becoming an entity outside the angelic order. Not heaven, not hell, just pure archive. Why would God allow an entity that remembers everything to still exist? Or, what if he had no choice? This theory could explain the strange bond between Lucifer and Amon. They aren't just allies. They share a truth that separates them from both angels and demons. According to fragmented scrolls of the Chronicle of Aziel, Amon whispered to Lucifer at the gates of Eden, "Do not bow. You already know what was forgotten." That whisper, not pride or envy, may have been the final spark. Lucifer didn't fall because he wanted to be God. He fell because he refused to pretend he hadn't seen what Amon revealed. What if the rebellion was actually an act of resistance against divine amnesia? That's the secret that drives mystics mad. The real war isn't between good and evil. It's between truth and forgetting. Amon still guards what no theology dares to write, and his mirrors are still offered to those brave enough to look. But beware, not everyone comes back seeing the world the same way. According to a secret manuscript from the Order of Tsaphon, there's a final seal that, if broken, would reveal Amon's true identity as an archangel. This seal is hidden in a physical place, But the key to unlocking it doesn't exist in the material world. It lives within your own memory. If this disturbed you, that was the point. Leave a comment. What if everything you've forgotten is exactly what's keeping you sane? Amon doesn't disappear, he withdraws. And it's in that withdrawal that the final truth begins to emerge. After centuries of being feared, summoned, denied, and censored, we've arrived at the most fragile point of this story. Memory as a curse. What if remembering is more dangerous than forgetting? Throughout this journey, we've seen Amon not as a destroyer, but as a healer of what was forbidden to exist. He doesn't persuade, he reveals. And what he reveals, the origin of the soul, the flaws of creation, the true intent behind Lucifer, aren't theories. They are fragments of a living spiritual archive that survives time, language, and even death. According to the never-published writings of occultist Friedrich Marlowe, kept hidden in a subterranean chapel in Germany. Amon isn't just the guardian of the past. He is the past, trying to rewrite itself. And now we reach the final line, or perhaps the beginning of something irreversible. Amon no longer depends on rituals or invocations. He moves through doubt. Every time someone questions the official story of creation, every time a believer walks away from faith because of internal contradictions, every time someone dreams of a life they've never lived, Amon stirs, not physically, but as a silent presence within the collective mind. What if he's already awake? Inside all of us, Lucifer, the bringer of light, remains the center of conflict. But maybe Amon is the forgotten fire within that light, the fuel that makes it burn. The true alliance was never military. It was never about demons and armies. The real alliance is symbolic, between memory and resistance. And now you know this. You walked through the layers. You touched what no one dares to remember. The question left is simple and unbearable. If this is the truth, why are we still keeping our eyes shut? What if it's all real? Share your truth below.